embark on a mesmerizing journey into the heart of one of humanity's oldest and most enduring mysteries, the Garden of Eden. For centuries, this fabled paradise has captivated theologians, historians, and adventurers alike, each drawn by the allure of its hidden truths and sacred secrets. Now, a recent groundbreaking discovery might just have brought us to the brink of the unimaginable, the actual location of Eden, as described in ancient texts. Could we finally unveil the physical remnants of this divine garden where, according to legend, humanity took its first steps? Join us as we delve into the details of this astonishing find, exploring the implications of what it might mean to uncover the very cradle of human history. And out of dust, God creates the first man, Adam, and breathes into him the breath of life. And in the middle of the garden, he plants the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Serpent tells Eve, "I know what God has said, but if you eat this fruit, you won't die. You'll just get really smart." Throughout history, the Garden of Eden has captivated the imagination of mankind, shrouded in mystery and allure. Despite numerous failed attempts to locate it, a recent expedition claims to have deciphered its whereabouts, potentially unveiling the long-lost paradise. Could this revelation be genuine? Has the legendary Garden of Eden finally been unearthed? Join us as we explore the groundbreaking discovery made by archaeologists in their quest to uncover the truth behind the Garden of Eden. The shocking discovery of the Garden of Eden. Archaeologists have just unearthed mankind's most significant discovery yet, the legendary Garden of Eden, the divine paradise bestowed upon Adam and Eve by God. For generations, historians and scholars have tirelessly searched for the supposed location of this legendary garden, but their quests have always ended in disappointment. That is, until now. A team of archaeologists led by Dr. John Smith has finally succeeded in finding the Garden of Eden. Dr. Smith, who has dedicated years to studying ancient texts and artifacts, made the groundbreaking discovery after stumbling upon a cave in northern Iraq. Within this cave, he and his colleagues unearthed a vast network of underground tunnels, revealing the long-lost paradise that has captured the imaginations of humanity for centuries. The team uncovered a huge cavern after weeks of research. It was unique, with a waterfall and vibrant green fruits and plants. They realized right away that this tunnel was exceptional. The plants were genetically different from known species, and remarkably similar to plants in the Bible. Ancient artifacts found in the cave date back to when Eden may have existed. The cave intrigued the researchers. It featured strange plant life. They had never seen anything like it. The non-native vegetation contrasted with their experience. The artifacts were ancient, evidence of a primeval time. The researchers marveled at their discovery. The Bible paints Eden as a perfect paradise. Beautiful plants flourished, and rivers sparkled there. Genesis says, "Eden lay to the east. This place was lovely and pure." The first humans lived peacefully with nature. They existed in total harmony with their environment and each other. The garden had 4 rivers: Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. Its climate stayed mild year-round, never too hot, never too cold. It was like eternal spring, with flowers always blossoming and fruit forever ripe. Eden's trees bore abundant fresh fruit every season. According to the Bible, the garden is home to every sort of tree that is both visually appealing and nutritious, including the trees of life and the knowledge of good and evil. The Garden of Eden is described in the Bible as a stunning location, with a wide diversity of plants and animals. It was said that a wide variety of animals, including tigers, bears, lions, and other wild creatures, lived in harmony with Adam and Eve and each other in the garden. This groundbreaking discovery raises the question people have been eagerly waiting to ask. Where is this garden located, solving the puzzle that has remained a puzzle for millennials? People have searched far and wide for the legendary Garden of Eden. Some see it as an actual spot on Earth, Others believe it symbolizes the spiritual condition of being whole. Yet, for many, locating Eden has proved pointless. Its whereabouts have inspired countless speculations, with guesses ranging across the Middle East, Africa, and even the Americas. The mystery lingers on. While certain scholars assume the Garden of Eden was destroyed by a natural disaster, like an earthquake or flood, others say it was drowned underwater. The idea that the Garden of Eden was found in Mesopotamia, in what is now Iraq, is among the most widely held beliefs. The premise of this hypothesis is the idea that the rivers that flow through Iraq, the Tigris and Euphrates, are also the ones that flow through the Garden of Eden. The region may have been home to some of the oldest civilizations in human history, according to archaeological data. According to a different hypothesis, the Garden of Eden is located in Africa, more precisely around the Nile River. The Bible references the rivers Pishon and Gihon, which some academics consider to be the Nile and its tributaries. This hypothesis is confirmed by the Bible. Furthermore, Africa has produced some of the oldest human remains found anywhere in the world, which some have linked to the creation myth of Adam and Eve. However, based on the findings of Dr. Smith's team, the Garden of Eden is located in northern Iraq, near the borders of Turkey and Iran. The cave system where the garden was found is believed to be the entrance to the garden that was described in the Bible. Terjes Stoor de Len proposed a different view, stating that Eden is located in Lebanon in the book of Ezekiel. Predictive texts make parallels between paradise, the Garden of Eden, and the forests of Lebanon. According to ancient mythology, Lebanon is an alternate location in the Garden of Eden. The earliest Sumerian equivalent of the Garden of Eden may have something to do with a mountain sanctuary in the Lebanon and anti-Lebanon ranges, according to Edward Lipinski and Peter Kyle McCarter. Some religious groups believe that the garden's location is local to them, outside of the Middle East. Leaders of Mormonism held that it was located in Jackson County, Missouri. The 20th Century Panacea Society believed it was located at the site of their hometown of Bedford, England, while preacher L.V. Calloway believed it was on the Apalachicola River in Florida, near Bristol. Some have suggested that the location is in Jerusalem. Christopher Columbus, seeing the South American continent for the first time during his third journey to the Americas in 1498, believed he had arrived at earthly paradise. Csikszentmihalyi claimed that the Garden of Eden was located in what is now known as Xinjiang. In his book, The Creation, the Garden of Eden, and the Origin of the Chinese, there has been some speculation about a gate found in Israel that might pinpoint the location of the garden, the portal into the lost paradise in Israel. In Telakesh National Park, next to Mount Hebron, there is a unique shrine that dates back to the earliest temple, which was constructed in the 8th century BCE. This fascinating finding would support biblical accounts of King Hezekiah's attempts to outlaw local worship customs. Working with the Jerusalem Heritage and Environmental Protection Ministry, the Nature and Parks Authority, and the Israel Antiquities Authority, the excavation took place earlier in the year. The objective was to learn more about the old building and advance the development of the historic park. According to the head of excavation, this gate is the biggest one discovered in Israel from the First Temple era. The goal of this most recent excavation was to reveal the remaining portion of the gate, which was only partially revealed a few decades earlier in the northern region. The gate's dimensions are consistent with Lachish's status as a significant city, as revealed by historical and archaeological records. According to Emily, the head of the excavation, Jerusalem is the only place where this is significant. The Bible describes the city gates as the hub of activity, where elders, judges, governors, monarchs, and other authorities would congregate. During the research, researchers discovered benches that were probably used by these significant individuals. The Lachish City Gate, which is 4 meters tall and measures 24.5 by 24, 5 meters, is now completely exposed. The main thoroughfare of the city runs between its 6 chambers, 3 on each side. Emily described some of the artifacts discovered in the gates and chambers. In the first chamber, they found benches with armrests and numerous items, such as jars, grains, scoops, and jar handles, stamped with the names of officials or milk belonging to the king's seal impressions. Interestingly, 2 handles bear the seal impression horn, indicating they belong to the king of Hebron. Some believe this place is just a made-up idea rather than an actual place. How true is this, unlocking the mystery of this imaginary sacred land? For some, the Garden of Eden is not so much a real location as it is a figurative idea. They contend that in order for anybody to find redemption or enlightenment, they must travel a spiritual path symbolized by the account of Adam and Eve. According to this view, the Garden of Eden symbolizes the innocence and purity that are lost when people are driven from it. Despite the fact that it is referenced in the Bible, some people may wonder if it ever existed at all. To be honest, a lot of people will attempt to dismiss the Garden of Eden account as mere mythology. Part of the issue with this notion, though, is that God was particular in not only creating a garden, but also naming the spot. Eden was planted in the garden. It does not necessarily mean that the garden does not exist, just because you are unable to discover it. In addition, the Bible's prophets made mention of the garden. Additionally, we note that the tree of life, which was situated in the garden stated in Genesis, is mentioned in Revelation 22, verse 1 to 3. The significance of discovering the Garden of Eden cannot be underemphasized. To begin with, it supports the hypothesis that such a mythical garden existed in reality, which has been the subject of many theories and folklore stories for ages. Secondly, it gives a different approach to the story of Adam and Eve's exile from the garden. Ultimately, this disclosure raises new questions concerning this narrative and its significance, thereby encouraging scholars to reanalyze the text in order to have a fresh view of what it means. Earlier in Revelation, Jesus again makes reference to the tree of life. The tree of life that Adam was forbidden from eating from after he sinned is actually the tree of life that we shall be permitted to eat from forever. There is great importance to finding out about the Garden of Eden because of its possible environmental implications. The plants found in this cave are genetically distinct from all known species, so they may offer clues useful when developing disease-resistant crops that can adapt to varied weather conditions. Although hard work and scientific processes do not produce results, searching for the Garden of Eden is challenging. Lest we forget, it could protect the unique ecosystem within Cave Hill, as well as around it. Even after much research, there's still no tangible evidence that shows whether such a place actually existed in history. The story draws its inspiration from religious texts that have no scientific evidence. Over the years, geological shifts have played a key role in shaping the Earth's landscape as well as its climate. Perhaps natural disasters such as earthquakes, floods, or erosion could have destroyed any physical remains of the legendary Garden of Eden. This idea is also supported by human evolution. It has been millions of years since human evolution began, and this process has been complicated and diverse in nature. It is, however, not likely that where the Garden of Eden was supposed to be found in the Bible was actually the first home for mankind. What awaits us ahead? This site, which is sacred, still remains mysterious to people. Discovering the Garden of Eden creates many possibilities and dilemmas for future studies. This may also give many chances for uncovering while exploring the deep cave system where Garden of Eden once existed. Nevertheless, scientists should overcome such difficulties as how to enter safely into the caves and keep their delicate ecosystem intact. It is possible that information regarding ancient cultures that lived in the area might be discovered in future investigations. It is equally possible that we may learn a lot about the development of agriculture and horticulture by examining the religious significance of the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden used to teem with fruit trees, beautiful plants, and rivers that gleamed. The fruits were both delicious and beautiful. This garden was forever blooming, and its weather felt like continuous springtime. It was a place where humans and animals coexisted beautifully. It was just breathtaking. Therefore, discovering this paradise could completely change history as we know it. Consequently, the myth of the Garden of Eden has been validated by an astounding discovery, exposing its true location in northern Iraq. This discovery raises new questions about the story of Adam and Eve and its significance. It also presents opportunities for further research that could lead to discoveries and insights into ancient cultures, agriculture, and the environment. There have been so many theories regarding where the garden is situated, some saying it can be found by following biblical descriptions in relation to the landscape of that time. The four rivers, mysterious rivers, flowing. According to the Bible, a river emerged from Eden to irrigate the garden before splitting off and becoming four heads. One goes by the name of Pishon. It is the one that includes the entire region of Havilah, which is rich in gold. There is the onyx stone and the crystal, and the gold in that area is wonderful. The second river, which runs through the entirety of Cush, is called Gishon. The third river, which originates east of Asher, is called the Hittite, and Perit is the fourth river. Even with a casual reading of these words, it is evident that there are four rivers, Pishon, Gishon, Hittite, and Perat, all of which appear to originate from the Garden of Eden. The most renowned biblical scholar, Rashi, defines the Pishon as the Nile River. He clarifies that the word Pishon, which means gushing forth and overflowing, represents the Nile River, which would overflow and irrigate Egypt. Alternatively, the word Pishon is related to the Hebrew word pishtan, which means flax, referring to the Nile River-fed flax industry of ancient Egypt. Egyptians were known to have mined gold and precious stones back in pre-dynastic periods, notably in the region known in ancient times as Nubia, modern-day southern Egypt, and Sudan. According to this perspective, the place called Havilah refers to somewhere along the Nile region, probably Egypt or Sudan. According to some observers, the Pishon is actually the Ganges River, which empties into the Bay of Bengal after passing through Bangladesh and India. This interpretation would be consistent with Jonathan ben Uzzel's translation, which renders the region of Havilah as Hinki, an Aramaic version of India. It's interesting to note that Josephus thought it related to the Indus River, which also flows through India, some of which connects to the modern-day city of Himalayan, which is located between Pakistan and Kashmir on the upper Indus River. The land of Cush is typically associated with Ethiopia, and the Gishon is therefore understood to refer to the Blue Nile. The Blue Nile begins in Lake Tana in Ethiopia and meets the White Nile in Khartoum, Sudan, where together they form one river that flows all the way to Egypt. R. David Kimchi, a 12th century biblical commentator, explains that the name Gishon means to diverge, which symbolizes the numerous tributaries that diverge off the Blue Nile in Ethiopia. The third river, Hiddekel, is widely accepted as being the Tigris River, which flows from southeastern Turkey through Iraq and eventually spills into the Persian Gulf. Daniel describes standing on the banks of the Hittite River while receiving one of his visions during the time when he was in exile in Babylonia. Clearly, the Hiddekel River is in the region of ancient Babylonia, which is present-day Iraq. Jonathan ben Uzziel, a sage who lived in the Second Temple era, translates the word Hiddekel into the Aramaic word Diglas. Even today, the Tigris is called Dikle in Turkish and Digla in Arabic. According to this identification, the location described in the verse Asher refers to ancient Assyria, which was centered around the upper Tigris River. The fourth river, Perat, is identified as the Euphrates River, which runs almost parallel to the Tigris. Together, these two rivers defined a large part of the Fertile Crescent, the cradle of civilization in ancient times. The name Euphrates is the Greek version of the Old Persian Ufratu and the Akkadian Puratu. And even today, the river is called Al-Furat in Arabic. The Euphrates River is later mentioned in God's promise to Abraham regarding the land of Israel and is used as one of the defining borders of the Promised Land. We are also told that there was a time when Jewish civilization had spread so far that members of the tribe of Reuben were living all the way to the banks of the Euphrates. While these two rivers are easily identifiable and their location is readily agreed upon, the identification of the other two proves more difficult and is the subject of much debate. The verse gives us more details regarding the Pishon River than in any of the others, yet the information itself is extremely unclear. The three main Abrahamic religions all have some sort of story involving the ancient garden. Let's delve into them. The lost paradise, as written in the Torah. The Garden of Eden, according to Jewish tradition, is both celestial and terrestrial. The celestial Garden of Eden is the righteous person's soul's destination. One's physical existence on earth is finished. The terrestrial Garden of Eden refers to the place in which Yahweh, the Hebrew name for God, created Adam and Eve, from whom many believe that humankind descends. Jewish law written down in the Talmud describes this garden as being in Eden. The garden, also called Gan in Hebrew, is described in Genesis, the first book of the Jewish Torah and Christian Bible. It was an idyllic paradise in which Adam and Eve did not know pain, sickness, fear, or death until they disobeyed Yahweh's rule. Yahweh had forbidden them to eat from the tree of knowledge. However, the devil, in the form of a snake, whom some Jewish scholars believe represents humankind's tendency to be self-destructive, tempts Eve. The snake convinced Eve to try the fruit. According to the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 4 to 5, the serpent said to Eve, "You will not die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve is blamed for being the original sinner because she ate the fruit and then gave it to Adam. The consumption of the fruit of the tree of knowledge makes Adam and Eve aware of their emotional and physical senses, whereas before they lived in a state of innocent neutrality, with a concrete acceptance of what was good and what was evil. Judaism's view of the ancient garden is not the same as what other religions believe. Let's take a look at what other religions say about this mythical land. What does Islam say about the Garden of Eden? In Islam, Jannat, Adan, or Gardens of Eden, meaning perpetual gardens in heavens, is the name of a heaven or a city in heaven. It is the fourth stage of Jannat, the gardens of perpetual abode, symbolized by large pearls. Eden is a garden where those who do good are patient and are pure will live there in mansions. The gardens are full of streams and angels. It is from this place that Adam fell to earth, landing on Serenity. In the Quran, it is simply called the garden. There are several mentions of the garden in the Quran, while the Garden of Eden, without the word Aden, is commonly the fourth layer of the Islamic heaven, and not necessarily thought of as the dwelling place of Adam. Quranic exegetes believe that Jannat is superior to other gardens of heaven. In a hadith from the Prophet, the Gardens of Eden are described as being what no eyes have ever seen and what has never occurred to any heart. However, there are sensible descriptions of this heaven in some Quranic verses. Residents of Gardens of Eden are said to include different groups, such as prophets, the sincere, martyrs, believers, and mujahids. Despite the biblical account, the Quran mentions only one tree in Eden, also called the tree of immortality and ownership of no decay, which Allah specifically forbade to Adam and Eve. In other words, there is no tree of knowledge in the Quran. They have been saying this mythical paradise cannot be found, and have also been pointing out some reasons why it cannot be. Let's take a look at this. Will the lost paradise ever be found? According to this idea, the Garden of Eden is a myth and cannot be found. Because of the mythology surrounding its river system, one cannot locate it by tracing the Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, or Euphrates. A subset of liberal PhD scholars who agree with the anthropological perspective that man made his deity in his own image recognize that the Garden of Eden is a reconstruction of earlier Mesopotamian stories concerning the city gardens of the gods and goddesses in ancient Sumer, modern-day Iraq. The gods created cities so they might live, according to some myths. They could perish if slain and possessed flesh bodies. They constructed city gardens so they could grow food for themselves, since they could starve to death. The Sumerians named the floodplain of Lower Mesopotamia, where these cities and their gardens were constructed. Eden was the garden of the gods. The Tigris and Euphrates, two of Eden's rivers, were used as irrigation channels to irrigate them. Eventually, the gods got tired of caring for their city gardens. They created men to care for their gardens. Man built irrigation canals, planted food, harvested it, and presented the produce of Eden's gardens to the gods, to eat in temples in the cities the gods built for themselves before man's creation. The gods did not make man as an act of love, to have someone to fellowship with, as taught by Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They made man their agricultural slave to be ruthlessly exploited by them, for the work in Eden's gardens was backbreaking and grievous. The gods will never expel man, the slave, from their gardens of Eden, for to do so would mean that the gods would have to work the gardens themselves for their own food, a task they dreaded, hence the reason they made man to be their slave and do all the hard, dirty work on their behalf. The gods also denied man godhood or immortality. Why? Man was created to be an agricultural slave, to grow food and feed it to the gods. In the Mesopotamian scheme of things, the gods do not grow their own food and feed themselves. That is man's task or purpose in life. If man is allowed to become immortal and a god, then who will feed the gods and grow their food in Eden's gardens? Thus, the reason man is denied godhood is that the gods do not want to have to bear once again the grievous agricultural toil in the gardens of Eden. So, Genesis's Garden of Eden myth is a recast and refutation of Mesopotamian myths, explaining where and why man was created. The pre-biblical prototypes behind Genesis's Garden of Eden are the city gardens of Eden in ancient Sumer, where every city had its god's or goddess's garden to grow food for the deity to eat. Thus, there is not one prototype behind Genesis's Garden of Eden. There are many prototypes in every single city in ancient Sumer. There is one truth about the Garden of Eden that counts more than all others, despite the many theories and viewpoints surrounding it. God has created provisions so that the purest of all people will enjoy the fruit from the tree of life for eternity, regardless of the precise location and whether we ever find it or not. Whichever way it goes, let's make sure you're among the winners so you can experience eternal life in paradise as well.